Hi everyone, how's it going? My name is Matt Jarbo. Welcome to $3 Theater, and today we're going to be doing our part 1 of 7 breakdown and review of Zack Snyder's Justice League, starting here with part 1, Don't Count on It, Batman. Now, I don't think I need to remind you all that there are going to be spoilers, because we're going through the entire first part, the first 37 minutes of the movie. I had to break it down chapter by chapter because this thing is too long to do on its own, but there's a lot to talk about here, and it's a lot of really good things to talk about here. So let's just dive right in and hope to God that HBO Max and Warner Brothers doesn't finally give my channel the death blow. So it starts off and we get to see what's going on from the end of Batman v Superman here. Wonder Woman looking all sorts of concerned as she looks on. The same with Batman here, as Doomsday is killing Superman and Superman is killing Doomsday, giving us a good up-close shot of Ben Affleck. Again, it's good to see my boy Ben back in the role. It's something that I'm very happy with, because I just realized how much I missed that. I just realized how much of Batman I missed. And from there, we see this great shot of both of them just collapsing on each other and the bell being rung, Superman's voice echoing across the world, and it is awakening the mother boxes. Most importantly, we get this shot, this really terrible shot, by the way. I just want to point this out. As good as this movie is, as great as this movie is, this opening shot of Lex Luthor in the scout ship, in the liquid, the CG is pretty terrible here. I don't know why, but it is. We can see Steppenwolf in the background, and of course, we get this great different angle from BVS of Steppenwolf realizing that the three mother boxes are here on Earth, and of course, booming off to do what he's going to do. Then we get a little bit of an update of Atlantis, which now sees that the mother box there in the right-hand corner is being guarded by Mera, and she recognizes that the shockwaves are doing something to it, so she looks on pretty worriedly, but we don't know anything else. From there, we go to Themyscira, where a whole bunch of Amazonians are just kind of 24/7 guarding the mother box. Apparently, they've been doing this for years. That's probably one of the only things they can do on the island outside of training. But this time, it starts to move. It starts to shake, and they don't know what's going on. And then, of course, it cracks open, and they're worried. They're clearly worried, and they don't know if something's going to be coming and if they're going to need to fight. Of course, we all know that's coming, but it's coming later. From there, we get to the opening credits, where we watch Batman doing his best to play Harrison Ford in Empire Strikes Back, with him traversing what I believe are like the fjords of Norway. I could be wrong about where he's at. I, for some reason, thought this was like Alaska, but I was completely wrong when I first started watching it. And we just watch him kind of like hang out for a while and walk around during the opening credits of the movie, where he sees the small fishing village that is besieged by glaciers in the bay. From there, we get, again, Batman, Bruce Wayne, just kind of looking a little bit like Indiana Jones. If Ben Affleck wanted to move over to a new franchise, I wouldn't be against it, to be honest with you. I really wouldn't be against it. I'd be kind of on board with this. And so from here, he walks into the village, and everyone is very confused by this outsider. How did he get there? How did he get there at all? We have no idea. But what we do know is that this is directed by Zack Snyder, which is awesome, and I really love to see it. And from here, we finally get to the part 1, which is Don't Count on It, Batman. This is where we go into the bar, and we saw this in the 2016 Comic-Con trailer, where Batman is trying to communicate with Arthur Curry, but Arthur's kind of playing a little bit coy. Batman, though, knows exactly who he is. The world's greatest detective knows exactly who Aquaman is, and he's talking to him without really trying to give away that he knows. And of course, he offers to pay up like $25,000 to talk with him right then. Arthur Curry grabs him, slams him against the wall. Batman pulls out just a wad of $100 bills like, hey, dog, I'm good for my word. You said 25 grand. I said 25 grand. Here you go. Take it. And of course, they give it to a little kid who takes it back over to the village chief, and the two have their first eye to eye. And I just like the framing of the shot. I just like this, that it's Batman and it's Aquaman. I don't see Ben Affleck and Jason Momoa, and I like both actors. I see Batman, Bruce Wayne, and I see Aquaman, Arthur Curry. And I'm just kind of like, I just love this particular exchange because I feel like it's just a lot of fun. From there, Batman kind of plays coy. He's like, so you're the Aquaman, but he doesn't use that line from the trailer. I hear you can talk to fish. Like, I know it's a corny line. I kind of wish it was there. I kind of wished it was there just because I like little corny humor like that. And there's a little bit from him in this movie, but it's also good that he didn't do it because it does show the seriousness of the situation and why Bruce Wayne is trying to find Arthur Curry, who is there because the King's Tide had just come in. And then he kind of gets it, like Momoa gets it, Aquaman gets it. He's like, all right, I'm on board. Let's talk. And of course, this is where we get, I think, the very first kind of glimpse of Momoa playing the character. Like I said, I love 2018's Aquaman. I love Momoa in the role. And I just like it right here because he's like, wait, you dress as a bat? Like, at no point is he trying to even conceal the identity. At no point is he even trying to conceal any bit of the identity of Batman. And that probably has a lot to do with the fact that they're in Norway and no one there speaks English and no one there knows anything about the Bat of Gotham. So from here, he's trying to convince him, trying to say, look, we're stronger together. Aquaman's like, F that. No, we're better apart. Doing his like, I don't give a crap sort of routine and whatever. But of course he has to, he has to find time, or he has to find a way to take off his shirt. And I've just noticed that with this whole sequence here, it's like Jason Momoa looks very good, and it takes a lot to get him in that shape and to get him ready for that particular shot. So obviously he's going to want to look a certain way, but Batman gives it one more shot, tries to plead with him once more. And of course, Arthur's like, nah, man, F this. I'm out. Look, I don't care. This ain't my deal. Right. I'm the bad boy of the group. I don't really give a crap about any of this. But then the weirdest thing happens where this group of women, they just start singing this song. And I don't know what the song is. I'm sure there is some kind of cultural significance, but they know that he is clearly some kind of mythical being because they're watching as he just goes into the water. Again, look at all the icebergs in the bay and the fact that there hasn't been a ship in a few months. They all know about it and they're still singing. And then here comes this one woman who just kind of mysteriously walks over and picks up his sweater and then smells it and then goes back in to sing the chorus. And I've seen some criticisms of this online. I really have. And it's not that it's bad. I don't find it to be bad. I actually think it's kind of funny. The first time I saw it, I was a little bit kind of weirded out by it. The second time I was like, all right, I kind of get it. Clearly to them, they're so remote. They're so pulled back from society that he is a folk legend that is real. Think about the movie, The Village, where they tell everyone that there's this folk legend of a monster in the woods. Here, there is a savior from the deep, and he comes to them because they've got no one else. And the thing is, there's no way for them to communicate. So him talking openly about Batman and Bruce Wayne, they're not going to know what he's talking about, and they're not going to care. So it is kind of the right time to make that exchange. And it takes a second to kind of think about it because of where this is located. Because you think if you go back to Aquaman, he's in Alaska. They speak English. So you might think, oh, they might know. But this is not. This is the middle of nowhere in Norway or Finland or Scandinavia or somewhere in that part of the world. And I'm sure somebody in the comment section will probably correct me if I got it wrong, and I probably did. But from here, we finally go back to Smallville. We get to see Martha Kent, got to make sure to bring that up. And she is looking sullenly at the gravesite for Clark Joseph Kent. This has been, I believe, about 6 months since the end of BVS. And so she's there and she decides that she can no longer afford her house. So she just has to leave. The bank decides to foreclose on it. The Comanche Realty is the company. I don't know if there's any kind of significance on that one, but it just caught my eye. And the fact that it's 785045 repo is the number is so callous in my mind. But for some reason, it just kind of seems to fit in to the cynicism and nihilism that this world kind of represents. Right now, that's kind of how I see it right now. Anyway, from here we go back to Batman, who meets up with Alfred, and he's like, look, I found him. He says no. Alfred's like, can the next King's Tide come in at, Jamaica or someplace warm? Maybe a guy who spends his life making a living from a cave isn't the best at recruiting people. And it's an interesting it's interesting how Alfred approaches this in my mind, because the way that it works is, or the way that it feels to me specifically, is that Alfred is like, look, maybe you're not coming at this from the best kind of recruitment aspect. Maybe you're coming at this a little bit too brunt, which is true. Bruce traveled for 6 days across these mountains to get to a remote village when the King Tide was just going to be coming in, because he figured that's where Arthur was going to be. And instead of trying to get to know him, he immediately is like, yo dog, I'm putting together this team of people because some bad guys are coming and you're the protector of the sea and I need your help. And I mean, yeah, it's maybe not like the best way to recruit people. It's a very gruff, I have money, you will do what I say sort of approach. Arthur doesn't work that way, which is another reason why I very much enjoyed their dynamic. But here we finally get a look at Lois, where her life has been since the death of Clark. She's walking alone in the rain. And I think this is I love the shot here because I feel like it very much like just kind of exemplifies her loneliness, her being the only person in the frame. It's dark, it's gloomy, it's rainy. That's kind of her life. That's kind of where she's been. And from there, she takes a cup of coffee over to a cop that she sees every day as she walks over to sit down and reflect and think while wearing the engagement ring that Clark got her at Monument Park. And, of course, she looks up there sullenly, and she's doing this every day because she's just lost. Like, look at the color scheme of what she's wearing. Black umbrella, black blouse, black jacket or gray jacket, black purse, black buttons, black pants, black boots. Her life is very drab. Her existence at this point, because of the mourning, because of the grief, is very drab. And it's one of the things that I think really should have been explored a bit more with her character. I feel like I'm glad Amy Adams was in it. I'm glad Amy Adams was able to come back to it, but I kind of feel like the Superman Lois dynamic that we got a lot more of in BVS was probably a lot better overall. And I would have liked to have spent more time with that. This kind of feels like it was, this is like the first team up movie. Obviously the Lois and Clark dynamic doesn't necessarily need to be there as much, but I like their chemistry and I like the way that they work together. So I want to see more because we established that in Man of Steel. We got more of that in BVS and it's kind of touched upon here, but hopefully if #restore the Snyderverse works, we'll get a lot more out of this. And then we cut over from Metropolis all the way over to London where there's this big, massive flag of a black Superman logo. I mean, come on. Like, yeah. Subtlety isn't necessarily always Zack Snyder's strong point, but that's okay. That's okay in this particular point because it looks badass, but it is very much, foreshadowing of what's to come. But this is where we get to probably, I think I would argue at this point, it's definitely in my top few favorite moments of the movie. And that is when we get the bank, it's a robbery scene. It's a hostage scene. We get this guy here in the trilby with a nice looking suit. He runs up behind this guy and he just ices him right in the head. And this is when the movie is gone R-rated. Because there's blood spatter now on the street as they drag the body in. They gun down other security guards and other people. I think they're in the House of Commons or House of Lords. I don't know the necessary building, but they take it over. But the whole time when they're taking it over, and this is, again, this whole sequence feels very much like it's Nolan inspired. Kind of like the opening to The Dark Knight. Just with those criminals. I got a lot of that similarities. I got a lot of those vibes off of watching this scene again. The music from Junkie XL is fantastic. It sets the scene and you feel like this group is actually something that, that is intimidating. Unlike the opening of Wonder Woman 84, when she fights like these jewel thieves in the mall, it very stupidly. There's actual weight. There's actual consequences to it. And we follow this case all the way through, which again, I like because we're focused on the case. And this is Larry Fong's cinematography. We're focused on the case. And we're kind of just walking it through as they get to their destination, but we see the chaos around them. And the chaos is a lot of times out of focus. And I think it works really well for the aesthetic of the scene because we're just following this guy. We don't know anything about him. We don't know what he's doing there. We don't know anything. All we know is that people are dying and they're taking people hostage. And this case is important because he sets it down. And from there, he realizes that he's got a whole group of school kids that they have taken hostage, but that's fine. That's what he wants. So he picks up the phone and he calls 50 and he says, we'll be making our demands soon. But this shows you kind of like how fearless this dude is because he walks right over to the window and he looks down at all the officers and there's a SWAT guy with the sniper rifle aimed square at this dude's face. And he's like, do I take the shot? And his boss goes, no, there's kids in there, which is a good point. But it's still, this guy right here, he acknowledges that he has this gun trained on him. He even like tips his hat at them, which is just a baller move in my mind. I thought that was so cool. This is the kind of villain you would expect in like a Die Hard movie. And he just gets so little screen time. I really enjoyed this. This could have been a whole little like larger part of the movie. But here we finally get to see that Wonder Woman is lurking around London. When we last left her, she was in Paris. She was at the Louvre. And here she's in London, and she's waiting to go and see what's going on with these guys. But we find out now that this whole thing is really about blowing up some stuff. They've got about what appears to be 12 pounds, or at least 12 blocks of C4 explosive. I'm assuming that that's the plastic explosive right there on a detonator on a timer for a minute. And they set it off like these guys are ready to die. Of course, Wonder Woman jumps in, uses the lasso of truth on this guy, finds out that they're just a bunch of reactionary terrorists that want to take the world back to like the Dark Ages. So they're going to blow up 4 city blocks. Look, the plan doesn't make the most amount of sense to me, because I'm like, for one, the 12, packs of explosives. Yeah, they're going to level that building. They're going to cause a lot of damage on the outskirts. But are they really? Is that enough to take out 4 city blocks? Wouldn't you need other simultaneous explosions in order to be able to pull off that kind of thing? I don't know. They seem pretty planned. They seem pretty organized. This part feels like it fell a little flat for me. But from there, she rushes on in, and she just, oh my God, she tears these guys up. She dodges some bullets. I love this shot right here, because she just kind of like in slow-mo watches this bullet pass by. Like, all right, whatever, dog. That don't mean nothing to me. I'm Wonder Woman, mofo. But she messes this guy up right here, and I know the shot's a little blurry, but pay attention to where that guy's head is meeting the wall. It comes back into play here in a second. She's able to then get the case, and she jumps up through the roof, and she flies up into the sky, and she throws it up, and we get this epic shot right here, which, look, this could be like a poster for a new Wonder Woman movie. That's my thought on that. This could totally be a poster for a new Wonder Woman movie, because it's so iconic. It's so epic. It just looks so freaking cool. And I love it. And so she throws it up, it blows up. And then this guy's like, well, okay. Like, that didn't really work out the way I wanted to, but he's not undetermined to at least cause some more death and chaos. Again, notice that blood spatter from where the head cratered into the stone in the wall, and the guy's body is right there. The dude picks up the gun again. Notice the blood, and then just walks over the guy's body, his associate's body, while loading up the machine gun, and then goes and starts trying to fire off one round. She comes in, she deflects it. He realizes that she's fast, but is she faster than a full magazine on automatic fire? And I love that it shows him flick it from single shot to full automatic weaponry, and so that was pretty great. She dodges everything. I couldn't get a clear screenshot out of that, because that's some fast stuff right there. The dude realizes that she is fast. He goes to load up again. She uses her energy blast from her bracelets, and she just blows this dude up. Now remember, folks, in Wonder Woman 84, I'm going to defeat everything with love. In Zack Snyder's Justice League, she literally, she Nagasaki'd this guy, okay? Let's be fair. Let's call it what it is. She Nagasaki'd this guy, and the only thing left of him was his trilby as it lands on the cop car, and I love that. Although, realistically, that kind of explosion, it would have burnt the trilby. But you know what? It's a movie logic, and of course, everyone is fine. You can see that the walls are blown out. Everything is blown out, but everyone behind her was okay. All right. So she goes over, and she's trying to help everybody up, and there's this one girl there, and the girl there is like, can I be like you one day? And she's like, you can be whatever you want. And again, even that right there, if you compare that to the Wonder Woman 84, when she's in the mall and that little girl, she's like, shh, and then there's more weight to this. There's a lot more weight to to this little schoolgirl asking, can I be like you one day? And she's like, you can be whatever you want. There's more here with emotion and heart and love than the entirety of Wonder Woman 84. It just goes to show you how really piss poor that movie was. It was a great Wonder Woman moment. When I was watching this yesterday for the first time, I was getting teary-eyed during the action. I loved it so much. Scene is amazing. I could watch this thing on repeat. And then now we get over to Themyscira, where Hippolyta is now coming to check out the whole broken mother box. She is walking up with all of her Amazonians, and they're ready for battle. They know something's coming. They know something bad is going to happen. So they go into the temple, and I really do love, again, the cinematography of this shot. We just like the guards that are there. And it's just that long kind of foreboding tunnel. And you can see the wooden pillars and stuff that's there as like a defense mechanism. And it's really cool. And you see the mother box, it's cracked. She comes up and she looks again, like, look at this, just the iconic cinematography here. The way it's looking is amazing. It's like, it's so beautifully shot. It feels like you're watching a graphic novel. Totally not unlike, with everything else we saw coming out of the other, I don't want to get into it. But so the mother box is cracked. The boom tube kicks in, and what comes out, we don't know just yet. Everyone around is looking like, oh, wow, this is going kind of crazy. And then, of course, Steppenwolf, the spiky mofo. And he is like, look, I'm here for this, like, why even bother? Well, you're all just afraid. And then Hippolyta's, kind of going to talk a little bit of trash here in a second. But look, I just wanted to show this shot here. Look at the detail on his face compared to 2017. It's just like, it doesn't compare. This is intimidating. Like the detail on the armor, the detail on his face, the color aspects of the armor, it's intimidating. The last guy looked like old Liam Neeson at the end of his action career, and not in a good way. But Ciarán Hinds, man, hell yeah, I love this guy. And so, of course, they do like the Themyscirans, like, like, what are you afraid of? Like, we fear nothing. And then they all fight. And, there was a line there. It was kind of corny, but I still it felt comic book to me. We have no fear. It felt very comic book to me. But, Steppenwolf is just messing up Amazonians. They all at one point dogpile on him. It's pretty funny. It just kind of felt like you're watching this wrestling scene, like back from the 70s, where there's a lot of like the exploitation with little people, and they would have like 20 little people and like one wrestler, and that would be the fight. That's kind of what this felt like to me. But like way less exploitative and way more violent and bloody. Because, he's trying to get to the mother box. Hippolyta grabs the mother box. She takes off. Steppenwolf's like pissed. He grabs his lady's head. And I thought he was going to crush it, but he just like, throws her off and everything else as they're holding him there. She then runs this part. Okay. I'll be honest with you. I didn't like this part of the sequence because as she's running out, there's a parademon that's right there. Hippolyta like runs up this wall, does this flip, comes back down and like nails this guy as her friend is right there on the bottom right. The archer is against the wall and she's like, like I've been shot. I'm dying. And you're like, oh man, that sucks. But then like Hippolyta with the mother box stops and they have this conversation. It's very brief, but it just felt like with all the chaos and carnage happening around them, everything needing to happen in a moment's notice, no hesitation. It just felt like one of those splash pages in a comic book, where there's like a lot of exposition while action is happening in order to kind of move things along. And I get that. This could have been cut out. Like, honestly, this could have been cut out totally. But from there, she runs and she's like, break the pillars, like seal them in. And there's like kind of this whole like weird thing of like, I don't know. I feel like maybe it's because I remember this from the 2017 version where they're like sealing them in. It just felt like it ran on a little bit too long because this whole sequence right here is a lot of slow-mo. And I think that's maybe one of the problems. But like Zack and Larry in their shooting of the sequence, like of the Amazonians, like they showcased the power and the physicality of these women. Like this woman right here, like just, they are very much highlighting her strength as she breaks down this pillar. And the last two hold up the door as Hippolyta slides underneath them, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark style, for her just to come on out as the door slams behind him. And then she's like, oh no, all of my sisters are inside, because she left them all to die. She did. She left them all to die. That's kind of what she had to do at that point. It was the only thing she could do. So then it just crumbles and falls into the sea. And she thinks, oh, it's over. Whew. We saved the day. We got the mother box out. We sacrificed a whole bunch of Themyscirians, but Steppenwolf be dead. Parademons be dead. Themyscira, the lands of men are saved. The world is saved. We're all good. And then she realizes, maybe not. Maybe things aren't going as well as they need to be going right now. And then here come Parademons, and like basically a literally flying Steppenwolf. Like he leaps out of the ocean and like launches himself halfway across Themyscira. It's pretty cool. Like this dude is powerful as all hell. And he just shows up again, that badass looking armor. And we saw a little bit of this from like one of the earlier promo stuff that Zack released where they're shooting him with arrows and he's like fighting him off and whatnot, and he gets his axe free and he cuts this lady down and he cuts her head basically off. Like you see the blood spatter, just like, gush out of her head. Like, my God, like this is how you know, again, rated R. This ain't your father's effing DC movie, guys. This stuff is rated R. And then At this point, he's covered in arrows and he just kind of like flexes them out. And he's like, whew, and the arrows all like just get shattered by the armor because it's hard to get through this stuff. Like these arrows, the Themyscirians have like, literally they have numbers over Steppenwolf, but they don't have the raw brute force to stop him. Quite frankly, only one entity really does. From here, Parademons are still chasing after the fleeing Themyscirians with the mother box. One of them drops the mother box. This woman here, she dives off her horse. She lassos it with a rope. She pulls it away from Steppenwolf. And then she like does this weird thing where she like pushes herself and she like slides as he is pulling out his axe, which I thought was great. She fires off the shot. And of course she gets slaughtered, but the arrow carries the mother box to another Themyscirian who grabs it and they take off. And then Steppenwolf, once again, he just does that leapfrog thing because they're not prepared for this guy. I'm sorry. They're not prepared for this guy, like at all. They don't get him at all. Knocks him down, ends up like, kind of like taunting Hippolyta here a little bit. So she pulls out a bow and arrow, fires off a shot. He grabs it, which I thought was awesome. Then he just snaps it. Like, what? You got nothing. Like, it's like, do you know who I am? Like, you don't even know who I am, sort of deal. Like, this is where, people were complaining about Steppenwolf. Like, this is badass Steppenwolf here because literally nothing that they can do can even remotely stop him, except there's a legion of them coming. And so he kind of goes, yeah, all right, maybe in the numbers they've got me. So he, he's like, we'll find the other two. And then they just boom tube in the hell out of there, leaving Hippolyta and the rest of the Themyscirians to discuss amongst themselves as they mourn the dead what to do next. And Hippolyta's like, we need to light the arrow of Artemis. We need to warn men. And it's like, been 5,000 years. They're not going to know what it means. And she's like, but she will. And of course that means part 2, the Age of Heroes, is going to be coming next here on the channel. I've been wanting to break this down for a while. I had a lot of fun kind of just going through that first part of it again, really absorbing the type of movie that Zack and everybody were making. And from here, it's only going to get crazier, folks. I don't think I'm going to release multiples of these per day. I might just do one per day because it takes a while to put these together. But leave your favorite moments from part 1. Let me know if I missed anything. Let me know if you like this, please. And be sure to leave a like and be sure to leave a comment and definitely subscribe for more of these breakdowns. Again, thank you all very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Have yourself a great night and peace out.